welcome to the latest episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. My tablet just froze there. I don't even know if the intro happened, but we're here and we're ready to talk Celtic. Franny had a bit of PMS, but he's feeling better. My deadly duo partner, how you doing, buddy?
I mean, if I could show a text message for you saying 8:15, I would, but I didn't get out. Could you sit like that on the phone and try and show it?
You can't show the picture beforehand. Come on, we'll have to save them from that kind of.
No, we can't show that picture beforehand.
But look, we'll start a bit late. Franny was freaking out, doing breathing techniques and all. Like, look, he's got his living room. It's all looking well. The spotlights are on. Spotlights on Franny. The spotlights on Celtic, and the plaster's dried. Unbelievable, mate. But first, we don't have the fancy graphic of the Super Six. Francis, you're going to read out the top 10.
Right, wait there. Because for some reason I just came out it. Right, so top of the league is Kieran. I don't know his second name because it cuts off by 166. Mark Robertson still in second. Alistair Jack, he's up to third. Joe Finley's there. Kevin Hampsey, Anthony Dunn, he's gone down the table now. Willie Dobbins dropped in a few places as well. He's still in the top 10. Jamie McElduff, Stephen Coulthard and Ryan Taylor. Stephen Coulthard should take his top soon, if no, the new, because Anthony.
It feels like there's about 50 chapters to that story. Do you mean like the T-shirt?
I'm saying Anthony picked it up. He was at Ross's on Tuesday, so he better have picked it up.
He did pick it up, and Ross told me he picked it up. So Stephen Coulthard, whenever Anthony drives over to you to give the prize, that's when it'll arrive at your door. But it is in Scotland, and it is made, and it's been there, and we all have one on the podcast as well. There's Stephen Coulthard. Good to have you along. Also, let everyone know Franny is going to be in charge of the comments. As I said, my technical equipment is running quite slow, and it'll probably freeze if I start trying to bring up comments.
The same set town as him, man.
Don't worry, Stephen. We'll be giving Anthony a disciplinary straight after this podcast. We'll be straight on him. But Franny, let's talk about the Champions League and Celtic Football Club in European football. The hot topic. I think of someone at TalkSport said that what's the point of us being in the Champions League? But before we get to all that and ask questions what we're going to do in the future and how we're going to improve, how we're going to learn, it seems like there'll be an ever evolving learning process with our club. Let's talk about the Atletico Madrid game over in Spain. Before we get into the goals and the events that happened, like in terms of the sending off and the 6 goals that we conceded, like truthfully, from your point of view, how did you feel getting into the game?
I mean, well, I was on Monday now. It was obviously a game I was looking forward to because of the home leg. You were like, well, I mean, it was always got to be a total different type of game, considering it was over there. They're a very formidable team. But I felt if you could get off to a good start, that you never know what, like sometimes against odds, obviously, I mean, we'll get into it. I'm maybe going to contradict myself a wee bit because I've got one lined up just in case for you, Stephen. But recent history maybe would tell you we probably wouldn't get the result in Europe, but you just never know. So I was optimistic for a change, as we know last year when it was coming to Super Six and things in Celtic in the Champions League. You're lucky if I picked us to win one game. So
you were betting against us.
I was, Stephen. I was like, how do you think I won? But I wouldn't say I was confident, Stephen, but I thought you just never know. I always felt it was going to be a difficult night. I didn't think it was going to transpire how it did, right enough, but it was not fun to watch. It was not fun to watch.
It wasn't fun at all to watch. I was watching with my granny, and I stayed for all 6 of the goals. I stayed right to the end, like I do watching every Celtic match, no matter what way the game goes, because I think it's a duty as a Celtic fan to sit through the pain and also sit through the successful times. And in Europe, to be fair, it's been more pain than success the last 10 or 12 years. But I mean, let's go into the game. I don't know where do we start, Franny? There's 6 goals. The pick. And we were discussing off air that we barely remember the 6 goals because we're trying to forget about it that much. But we'll have to talk about some of them at least. And the first goal, I mean, Antoine Griezmann, we all know he's an absolute superstar. Exactly, Phil. We'll learn from this. We're going to come on to that because it feels like this is a process that Celtic have been going through for years and years. But in terms of the first goal, Griezmann, world class. I thought he was excellent on the night, and you've seen him at his best, performing in a midfield role at times, tracking back and obviously contributing with 2 goals himself. And he's a wee bit annoying, isn't he? He's a bit of an annoying so-and-so. But first goal, let's talk about it from a Celtic point of view. The ball got crossed in from a corner kick. Joe Hart, what's he at it? And he should have grabbed the ball for me. I think the ball might have went out for a throw-in or captain play. Then it went into the box again. A flimsy header by Callum McGregor that was absolutely abysmal. Falls at Griezmann's feet, and like every world-class striker does, he takes an opportunity, shoots first time, and ends up in the back of Joe Hart's goal. But starting with from your point of view again, 2 mistakes there. Joe Hart for me really caused that goal. He should have grabbed that. It wasn't far away from him. It wasn't like he had to run out in a crowd of bodies to reach it. It seemed like to me he was the favourite for the ball. The flimsiest punch I've ever seen, and ultimately these deals being punished in the 6th minute of the game.
Well, Ross, but the three is me, Ross and Anthony, we all said Joe Hart should catch that ball. I'm just like not trying to make excuses for him, but I'm wondering, did he maybe see it late and just it was a reactionary punch? But for me, he should be grabbing it. For me, he should be grabbing it all day long. And obviously, I think it does work its way out for a shy from there. But for as much as Joe Hart's got to blame, I think Callum McGregor has to take a bit of the blame as well. His header back out was horrendous, absolutely terrible. I can remember watching the days of soccer, John Terry was on that. He always, one of the best defenders, certainly in my time to play the game, always said header the ball back out where it's coming from. Never header it back. It's essentially a blind header for McGregor, because even if he sort of heads it, like, obviously straight back out would be towards the touchline, if you like, but then even if he kind of heads it straight up the park, if you like, maybe gets away with it, but he actually heads it towards the middle of the goal, which is just, it's an absolute, for me, it's a horrendous header. And I think, again, the three of us said at the time, I think he's got to take some of the blame. And from there, it's Griezmann, it connects well. Joe Hart might save if it isn't for the deflection, it takes it away from him. You never know. But you're sitting thinking, going, I know it's early in the game, maybe 5 minutes, but we'd actually started the game pretty well. So even I thought we looked comfy enough on the ball and things like that. So
is this the we competed for 4 minutes? The unlucky story again?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm meaning it's more, you're looking at it going, we've actually got off to a pretty decent start in the sense that the ball's not hot tatty. We're not desperate to get rid of it. We look like we're confident enough in the ball. But then you're like sitting going, 5 minutes in, it's typical Celtic in Europe. We lose. As much as it's a good strike, it's when you consider the Joe Hart mistake and the Callum McGregor
mistake. Two mistakes.
It feels like a normal Celtic goal in Europe. But in fairness, I think we regrouped well and looked confident. I agree that Simeone's, how he laid out the team, it's 5 at the back, really shocked me, but at the end of the day, it's what he does. And I think that helped us kind of, I don't know if control the game is the right word, but we were confident enough on the ball, and it allowed us just to kind of, after they went down, they scored the goal, you're sitting going, well, this is not the start we want. But then they got back on the ball and showed a lot of confidence on the ball, and we'll get into it. But for me, the red card changes absolutely everything.
Well, I don't know if it changes everything, Franny. I'm not saying we're going to win, but it just takes away any chance you've got to try to have a go in that game. Yeah, and I think in terms of the Atletico setup, I mean, let's be fair. I think most teams go to their stadium or at home in their respective stadiums in the Champions League, and they probably have most of the possession. Atletico Madrid have never really been a possession-based team under Simeone, albeit they're scoring more goals this season, but it's still the same. It's still
mad when you think of the team they've got as well.
It's incredible. I know, but if you look at the spine of the team, I mean, Witzel players of that ilk, and then you've got Griezmann, you've got Morata, you've got all these Loriente, who I think's absolutely fantastic. He's coming off the bench. He's an incredible player. Yeah, Rodrigo de Paul. I think he was injured for the return game, but suspended. But I think it's a bit of a false pretense to say we were controlling the game, or
I don't think we looked good.
We looked good in the ball, but I think that was Atletico was letting us do that. You know, I think if that's a part of their game plan, where you kind of fall into that false sense of security, we're making schoolboy mistakes, like watching Franny playing 5. It's like, hey, Franny's a good deep line playmaker. But before we go on to the red card, I want to talk about the two players we started off with, Joe Hart and Callum McGregor. But first of all, Callum McGregor. Now, I've seen a fair amount of comment on Callum McGregor, Calmac, and it's fair. He has to cop a bit of flack when he deserves it. And look, a lot of people saying he hasn't been at his best this season. As the years of playing football catching up on him, or overreacting because he's having the bad maybe running the team, albeit we're winning games in the league, but I think it's more European football that people are talking about. Can you see a dip in form in Callum McGregor and what he's providing us as a team?
I wouldn't say he's kind of been hitting the standards this season that he's set for himself, but I think he's still had plenty of good games, and he still had, as a confident enough player, it's a guy you would have in your team every week and stuff. So it's a strange one. Yet he has had poor performances as Europe. Try to think if he stood out, but then there's not. Well, he stood out obviously in the home game against Atletico Madrid. I think everybody at Amman was brilliant that night.
Yeah, that was also
Lazio for big parts of that game. He was good. Again, so was the team. So he has performed, and even I know it doesn't really affect Celtic, but even for Scotland, he's been good. So I wouldn't say the amount of games is catching up on him. Maybe
should he start every game?
Well, you've got all that sports science and all that nonsense now, Stephen. So you would assume that if he shouldn't be starting as many games, I mean, me with not being a professional, I would say no, he shouldn't start as many games. But it's just, as I say, you've got the sports science here that is meant to back up justifying why he is playing. So for me, I would say I would like to see him rested more, but I wouldn't put that down to him being overplayed, because I just think you've got the sports science there that will suggest that he's playing at his peak. He's not burning out. So I don't know, Stephen. It's from the outside looking in, I would say he's played too many games, but sports science differently.
I think it's like sports science is a good thing to have, but again, it clouds a lot of people's judgment if they say they're optimum levels for a certain amount of minutes. Callum McGregor plays the most minutes in the team, so I do think he should be dipped in and out, especially at domestic level. I mean, you've got players who can play. Awada, Bernardo, we've seen they can fill in positions. But going on to Joe Hart now, if we skipped to the last goal, right? The last goal was a bit of an absolute shambles. Like a few of the goals we conceded. I think the ball was in the box again. I think it was Turnbull went for a tackle, missed it, and then it flicked up. Saul hit it with the tip of his toe. Joe Hart was inside the net, and I'm sure you've seen the picture and the videos going on Twitter. Franny, you're on Twitter a lot like myself, and it actually looks really embarrassing from Joe Hart's point of view. Then you go back to the first goal, the punch. I mean, there was a point after that goal we conceded the first time where the ball came into the box and he caught it, and you're looking around, you're going, he should have done that in the first place, and that first goal probably wouldn't have happened because the ball would have been out up the pitch in the opposite end. But that Joe Hart, right? It was a contentious subject in the summer about people saying, give him another year. He's good enough, he can perform. And then, I mean, for me, I think I've been pretty consistent. I always remember him saying when he first came in that Nuno, his manager of Spurs, was basically like, you're not quick enough for this level. And when I watch him in the Champions League, his reaction times for me, I think, aren't great. His decision making isn't great at times, and obviously coming for the ball, he's just woeful at in European football for some reason. But is this a sign? I mean, if there's a sign from God or a sign from anybody that we need a new goalkeeper, I think that's it. And you could always go back to recruitment, which I'm sure we'll dip in and out of during this podcast. That's fair enough. But I think for me, that's a major, major issue on the board, the recruitment team, on Rodgers himself, that we didn't even get a goalkeeper to challenge him or a goalkeeper superior to him in the summer.
I mean, I think that's a fair comment that we didn't get somebody to at least challenge him. But I would also say the way Joe Hart has came across his 2.5 year anyway that he's been here, it doesn't come across as being complacent, that he takes his position for granted. He seems a very professional guy, very proud guy.
Of course he's professional, yeah.
So, but it would be easy for him for standards to drop maybe, and maybe we could be overanalyzing it, thinking, well, there's nobody to challenge him. He's guaranteed his plays, so standards maybe are dropping for him. I think maybe age is catching up on him. I know, is he 36, 37, and
yeah,
I'm not saying he's young for a goalkeeper, but he can goalkeepers at a certain level, like you look at Craig Gordon for starters, they perform at that level. Fraser Foster's similar ages to Joe Hart, I think, and performs at that level. So keepers
who would you rather have, Fraser Foster or Joe Hart?
Fraser Foster, but can they get Fraser Foster at the time? Yeah. Fraser Foster we got sold we hung on to the thinking we were getting Fraser Foster and ended up with our favourite Barkas, Stephen. So less said about that, the better. But I think possibly, we're over-analysing Joe Hart a wee bit. Yes, I think we should be trying to get better than him. I don't think we'll get that in January. We might come into that, so I'll not go too much into it. We might come into recruitment, so I'll not go too much into it. But I think I would be surprised if Joe Hart signs another deal at the end of the season. I think it would be maybe because we bring in a young goalkeeper, maybe 22, 23 with a bit of pedigree, and it's just that you will be the number one, but Joe Hart's there to sort of help him through it and things like that. It's like not getting away from it. Joe Hart has been a top class goalkeeper throughout the majority of his career. Has he been world class? No, but he's been a really good goalkeeper for the majority of his career. And that second goal, that goal you're talking about, I think we've tried to forget a lot. I've not managed to watch it back in real time, and the video he sees in slow motion. So it looks
he goes inside the net. He goes inside the net.
It looks horrendous, but we all say that we shouldn't show still images. We should show things in real time. We're making a judgment on a guy in a video slow motion, and if you actually, what I do remember of the goal is Sal actually goes to hit the ball first time and fluffs his shot and controls it. So he actually fluffs his shot that bad that he controls it, and it's actually second go at it. So if we've got to really look at this video, we need to give context. It was not like Joe Hart was just in 2 yards behind his line. He's maybe reacted to the first shot, and it's momentum that is then taking him in, and he's obviously just a natural. When you're slowing it down, it looks like an absolute delayed reaction. But I think if you watch that in real time, he's probably reacted to the first shot that Sal Niguez has fluffed and then incidentally controlled and then essentially toe poked in. So Joe Hart's momentum is then taking him in the box, and he's just reacting to that shot, which every man in the dug will react to a shot. He probably knows he's in the goal. So I'm not reading too much into that video. I think the fact that it's been slowed down is very clever and very poor for a lot of folk.
I mean, to be fair, Franny, like, he's not good enough at that level. There's no rationale for me that says he's good enough.
I'm not going to sit here and judge Joe Hart on a slow-mo video.
But I've seen it back in real time, and it's literally step by step of that video. And I know you say the first shot he probably reacted to it, but a keeper with quick reflexes, quick judgment time reactions is moving back out to his line again, not sinking further back into it after he fluffs his line. So for me, even if that's the thing, then you have to take that into consideration. Mark Kearney, the only thing I could think of is Hart was trying to get behind the line and angle away from skills. Yeah, there's possibilities in that, but I think we could. I mean, come on, we can all agree that for European level, that probably the majority of our players aren't quite good enough, and that's simply the truth. But we'll come on to the red card, and Rogers was fuming. Probably one of the only times I've actually seen him. Exactly, Mark. Probably one of the only times I've actually ever seen him maybe lose his cool a bit was the red card for Dyson Maeda. VAR reared its head again. Roger said today he'd rather get rid of it because it's not doing its job. I think Postecoglou again said similar during the week after the game that was Chelsea and Spurs, which was manic as well. But Dyson from that tackle will be out for 6 weeks until the new year. Medial ligament damage, which is an absolute blow for us, to be honest. But looking at it, was it a red card? I mean, what I didn't like, and Rogers pointed it out, the first, as you said, rightly said about Joe, was the first thing that referee seen was the still image of Maeda's foot planted on your guy's shin. And if you actually, as you said, watch it back in real time, Maeda's foot isn't even extended to the point where he's going in like that. It's a flimsy foot where he's just trying to connect with the ball. Both players collide. Trying to block the clearance that their player was making at the time. And again, Atletico play up to the dark arts and their players surround the referee, Diego Simeone. does the Irish dancing jig at the touchline. Even the physios are up, and he wouldn't let him on the pitch at Parkhead and ask him. So all that kind of, I know that plays into effect, and the crowd as well. The first image. All right, Grant. That's a cracker. But the first image he sees was the still image, and I think that planted the seed in his head to send Maeda off. Look, for me, Maeda give the referee a decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
It was to me, it was a 50-50, but in them arenas, the European arena, the rules are different from what we're used to. Name Scales referenced that today. You don't get away with domestic tackles in European football because they're held to a different standard, a different kind of rule set for VAR. And again, it comes back to, if you have a blanket rule for every association, every competition, you won't have to talk about this because you know what it is set in stone. But the Maeda incident for you, Franny, you said it changed the whole entire game. How did you feel when that happened?
It was just it sapped any sort of energy and belief that I thought we could get in and out the game. I know we're down 1-0 at the time, but as I say, I thought we regrouped well. I appreciate Atletico Madrid's set up and how they want to play, maybe helped us, allowed us to get on the ball and stuff. But I just thought that just changed the whole dynamic of the game. And I do agree with it, gave the referee and VAR a decision to make. It was Brian Warner said that it was a naive challenge. I can see what he means by that is, but you can, when you actually see it, he's going in to block him. Block the shot like a 50-50 type thing. And in fairness, the boy actually kicks him, but it's one of the ones where I know the boy kicks him, but it's for any time you see it, that person always gets the foul. It's not the person, strange enough, that's been kicked that gets the foul. And like I say, what the whole carry on for Atletico Madrid, that didn't surprise me. We all know that's what they do. We know that's what they do. What annoyed me most is the fact that the referee, for me, I felt that the referee was in a good position. He judged it. Where I'm getting annoyed with VAR is the fact that it was meant to never re-referee games. Now, that referee's seen that decision and deemed that a yellow card. They've then said, essentially saying, no, this is a red card, you've got this wrong, you need to look at this again, which for me is re-refereeing again.
Is that the clear and obvious thing, what it was meant to be introduced for?
I don't think
no, it wasn't clear and obvious.
I don't think it's clear and obvious. And the fact that he had, like, he never taken long to think about it. He had about 4 or 5 replays, but I'm not just saying this on the back of it. I've said it before. I don't think any game, when you're looking at, if you're asked to then look at the monitor, you should not be given still images of it. You should not be given slow motion of it. You should be given it in real time, because then you can make a judgment on that and say that. Because any tackle, that still image is horrendous. And I think there's 2 other still images that folk have managed to pull for the game. One on Kyogo, and can't remember who the other one was. And they look horrendous, the challenges. But I think if you actually see them in real time, there's hee-haw in them. Absolutely nothing in them. So I think, and for me, that was the big issue. The referee, first picture he sees isn't even a replay. It's a still image. It looked a horrendous challenge. I agree. That still image looks terrible. But so right away, he's gone over there going, I think I've got this wrong. And then the first picture he sees is Maeda's what looks like foot in right against his ankle, and you're sitting going, I have got this wrong. So any replay, he's probably looking at going, I didn't need to see any replay. I've seen a still image. So that's where I've got the issue with, Stephen. I don't think VAR is being used right. I think it's being used to re-referee games across the board, not just in Europe, not just in Scotland. I just think it's been used across the board just terribly. But for me,
you look at it, right?
That changed the match for me. And I thought John Hartson talks a lot of nonsense. I'll give him that. Like he's so
leave big bad John alone. Leave him alone.
At times it's embarrassing, but I might take a bit of flack for this, and I can't expect it. But I think you can't judge Celtic on Tuesday night because of that red card.
Franny, let me tell you right now, we're going to be judging tonight. We are going to be judging tonight. See that shite narrative where people say, You can't judge us against Atletico Madrid. Well, we judged Celtic when we played them at Parkhead and drew 2-8, and it was a credible performance. We get beat 6-0. We're going to be judging them, and we're going to be asking what's next in European football.
I think you can judge them, but I don't think you can judge Celtic's European campaign on one game where we were down to 10 men after 20 minutes and felt.
So you don't you don't take into account the Feyenoord game where we lost 2 men. We're sent down to that. So we're right off 2 games in the campaign.
Aye, go for it, Stephen. Aye.
Right, no. Right, we'll come on to that a wee bit later on. Don't pick me like that. Don't be poking the bear. But I mean, you mentioned VAR, right? And Corvo, 100%. It was brought in for clear and obvious goal scoring opportunities, clear and obvious red cards, offsides, and that was a foul in the middle of the pitch. He wasn't shown a still image. It was a video pause until the ref.
That's a still image, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I think, to be fair, what he means is not an actual picture. It's of the actual incident, but it's paused at that certain time frame. But I mean, you look at that, Franny. It was used for basically a foul in the middle of the pitch with no implication for a goal or an offside or an opportunity for any team to score. It was brought back. It was brought back, and the red card was given to Maeda. So me and Anthony seem to talk about this every time that we're on a podcast together. And look, I'm not going to go into the game because I think we've covered it and like extensively for the last 2 weeks. But where do you stand on VAR? And do you agree with Rodgers? If this is what it's going to be used for, you might as well just bin it.
I would bin it if this is what it's got to get used for. But we know it's not going to. And the problem is Rodgers is maybe could be part of the problem that why it's here. Managers complained about officials, said they weren't getting enough decisions right. We started with goal line technology, which I thought was a great tool, absolute great tool. Somehow in Scotland we've still not got that in, which is just madness.
They have the wee watch though, don't they? It tells them.
No, we don't have goal line technology.
We do have goal line technology.
No, we don't.
Surely.
They use like VAR. They use the cameras. We've not got goal line technology.
We are tin pat. If that's true.
I'm pretty confident we have not got it. But
I'm sure.
I don't think. It's definite. I would bin it the more. I think our game is not set up for VAR. I don't think it's. I think we're changing our game. Like the rules have changed so many times since VAR's came in. I think we're changing our rules to suit the technology. And when in reality, it tells you the technology doesn't suit the game. Like,
I think it'll get to a point. I think it'll get to a point.
Hawkeye for offside, but then when you start going into that, that's when you'll start going into the penalty decisions. But for me, I think guys potentially like Rodgers, your Klopps, all your managers, they're to blame why VAR's here. They complained about referees saying there's too much money involved in football to worry about it and to leave it all to human error. And they now think now the human error is no left because it's humans running the technology. Humans that draw the lines on. So
why the fucking lines? The lines,
so man. They all realise that it's, as I say, it's still humans running the technology, and it's. I think what's happened with the audio, especially in England, some of the audio getting released, the decision making is just showing how chaotic it is when they're using some of the technology. So, for me, I would bin it the more, but there's absolutely no chance because of leagues have pumped too much money into it that it's not going anywhere anytime soon, and the managers are reaping what they sow at the end of the day.
The most ironic thing is, Franny, that Celtic pay the most for VAR in Scottish football, and we get absolutely nothing from it. And you look at it as well. I mean, I think it'll get to a point, what you were saying there, where if this continues on the trend that's going, there'll be no referee on the pitch. It'll be done by some voice coming down from the stadium being like, foul and all that place. Do you know what I mean? Tom McGinley, we tried it briefly during the COVID season. The 3-3 draw with Hearts in that Scottish Cup final had Hawkeye. I don't think we've had it since. The Scottish football can't afford anything. It has to be a what do you call it, GoFundMe page to get a fucking pie and chips. Do you know what I mean? We're pissing away money with VAR big time, 100%. I totally agree. And I think it's used, as you said, Franny, for the wrong things. But we'll look at the game. And what I want to talk about as well is the shape that Rodgers seemed to go with after the sending off. And I thought this was a bit stupid. 20 years ago, goal line technology was football's only problem. Aye, 100%. Celtic Glasgow champions. You're right about that. But you look at it as well. You've really fucked my thought up here. Right? Hold on. I can't remember where I was going with this, right? No, the shape, the Rodgers and Celtic shape after the sending off. He went with a 4-3-2. What did you feel about that? I've seen a lot of people saying he should have went to shut up shop, brought on Phillips, straight back five, free of the park and one up top and just kind of play like that off the second balls. And it seemed like to me, once he shaped up with the 4-3-2, we lost the wings. We couldn't defend the wings. When they were getting in positions, they were picking us off quite easily. I thought the overloads on the left and right hand side were incredible by Atletico Madrid at times, and they were picking us apart at will. To be honest, I think we were like a toy with no batteries, just being pushed around, and that's what it felt like towards the end. Alistair Johnson himself saying he's never been in a game where he felt so powerless in terms of affecting it. So, did you think the shape was anything to do with it? Do you think Rodgers could have tweaked differently? Do you think he could have made a change at half time to stem the goals?
I think so. It's on one hand you can say it's maybe bold that he's trying to give Kyogo help up top, because I don't think it was two. I think it was one playing pretty close to. I think Palmer went up and played pretty close to Kyogo. So on one hand you can maybe look at it and go, well, that's pretty bold. He's maybe trusting his defenders, saying, well, I'll let them have it wide. I know Morata's got to be a danger with the crossing, but I'm maybe got to try and trust my defenders to defend majority of the crosses, and we'll see, and we're getting enough of the ball that we might be able to play through it and just try and keep as many players in the middle of the park where you were maybe got to try and control the game. So on one hand, I could understand that, but maybe for the benefit of hindsight, you're sitting going, well, why don't you just go like the 4-4-1, just try and keep four across the park, even if it's four, like a flat four, and like your wingers aren't really advancing too far. It becomes a hard shift for Kyogo, but it's one of the ones you've got to kind of suck up when you get a red card. I do think it was maybe, I wouldn't say it's naive for Brendan Rodgers, but I think maybe the benefit of hindsight, you maybe look at and go, why did you just go 4-4? Like put two banks of four on and just try and stay in it for as long as you can, and hopefully get a corner, a set piece, and whatever, and maybe try and make something through there. But I think, as I say, one hand that you can look and go, it was bold and brave, but on the other hand, I'm like, well, probably a bit silly.
Yeah, I think as well, if you look at the stats, like Atletico had 27 shots, we had one. Atletico had 12 on target, we had one. They had 66% possession, we had 34. So, I mean, that's a trend that continues all throughout the stats that you can read online. And hail, Pam, good to have you along. And you look at it as well, I mean, as you said, they made a thing to change the game in an instant. I thought the shape, I think for me, he could have went with a five, flat back five, played off the second balls and seen what happened there. But that's all in hindsight, so we don't know what really would have happened from that. And then obviously Morata got the goal in half time. Jimenez, their central defender, peeled off, I think the back post. Johnson's side, headed back across. Morata got in. Second half, Griezmann scored again. Morata scored an absolute beautiful goal. Lino, come on, the Brazilian winger. First contribution to the match, fizzed in the top bag, Joe Hart's right hand side, and then Saul kind of rounded off the game. We talked about that goal as well. But Franny, I mean, let's have a wee chat about European football and where Celtic fit in that landscape now. The Champions League for me, it's changing next year. It's going to get even tougher. There's no fallbacks into the Europa League, no more of the Conference League, so we kiss goodbye to finish in third place. It's a league platform, basically. We have to play 8 games. I think it's the top 8 automatically qualify, and then it's 8th to 16th qualify for the last 32, and then the rest are out of the competition. I know Phil McGinley will know that all because I remember him saying it in one of the Bhoys Bus podcasts, so if he can correct me on that, I'm pretty sure I'm along the right lines if he's still watching. But where does Celtic fit in this European football landscape? And look, a lot of pundits raise their head, especially English ones, when we get a hammer in Europe, and it's to be expected. Talk Sport especially, Sky Sports help putting the digs in and all that type of stuff. And look, we've been here before with Barcelona, with PSG, Real Madrid last year, 5-1 at the Bernabeu. Atletico Madrid, 6-0 this year, kind of feels a bit different to me. It feels a bit shit. Where do we, as I said, where do we fit in this European football kind of world now?
It's getting harder, Stephen, to fit at the top table, I feel like, and compete. Like, obviously, the finances are a massive issue. Folk might not, or will point to the fact that we've got money in the bank, but just because we've got money in the bank, it doesn't mean you can just automatically spend it. It's
what's it there for then?
Well, I feel like we finished, Steve. I was going to say that we don't know if the Celtic board were trying to spend it or not. We'll never know. They'll say they probably did. A lot of folk will, with sort of a history to go off, maybe will say, well, we didn't believe you because there's not much of a body evidence to prove that when you're in a position of strength, you're cash rich in the bank, you've went out and spent big. Without harping back to it, you go back to when Rodgers qualified twice in a row for the Champions League, 100 million in the bank. We didn't get John McGinn, we got Malumbu, guys like that. Yeah. So people will rightly harp back to that, but I think it is getting. I don't think I'm getting conditioned to believe this way, but I do think I'm realistic to think that it's getting harder and harder. I mean, there's one there, John Rotary. There's the money they've spent, and they're both sitting bottom of their groups right now.
But, Franny, you could use that the opposite of the scale, right?
Benfica's got 0 points and spent 70 million or something. So teams are spending money and not getting points in the Champions League, Stephen. And then I'm not going to sit here and pretend I didn't ask us to spend money. I still want to spend money. And I do believe that if you spend money on your 7, 8, 9 million pound players, it would stand to reason that should be a better caliber of player that you should be getting. So it should help you. Logic would tell you that should then help you compete. But then you look at guys like Matt O'Reilly, 1.5 million.
He was shouting Tuesday.
He was, but again, the red card changes everything for everybody. I agree. He's competed well. Who else we got? I think Hatate. He's competed well enough in Europe. So it does show you don't need to spend massive, but I do agree that you spend bigger money, you are reducing that risk. You're heightening your chances of competing. But I think Celtic's problem, we're all asking, like, you'll get folk asking for Champions League ready players. We're not getting their players, unfortunately. I would like us to get more experienced players.
Yeah.
Maybe your Scott Sinclair type of player. At 29, 30, you're not sitting going, well, we need to hanky the sell-on fee of that. I think that's maybe where the board maybe need to go, right, well, we can't look at every transfer and go, what we got to make off the guy. I think you need to get some guys. I don't think you're getting a 28, 29-year-old with plenty of Champions League experience. It's just not happening because these guys are going for silly cash. I mean, there's guys even down in England going for silly cash, but have hardly kicked the ball. So it's becoming a hard market, a hard-done market for Celtic to deal in. The Saudi League's a big problem for, I think, as well. I think they can compete with players that we maybe want. Obviously, I'm not saying we want guys that are essentially washed up, but guys like Sinclair and that who probably weren't going anywhere before they came to us would maybe look at the Saudi League now, whereas they would come to Celtic where there's probably players of that sort of that calibre that might be like, well, I'm going to hold off and try and get to Saudi. I've made a bit of money, but for the last 3-4 years, I can make plenty of money if I go to Saudi. So I think it's getting harder for us to compete in Europe. I think it's hard. I think it's getting hard for fans to accept the finance, like we're known as a big attraction as we as a fan like to believe we are anymore. Like they say the money just elsewhere. Like the money in Spain, the money in England, it's the money even in France. Probably Holland's just pretty decent. Well, it's maybe some it's maybe on par, but in Holland, but the quality of football you're playing against as well is better. So I just think I think Celtic are almost trying to bid for players with at an auction with two hands tied behind their back, essentially trying to bid for players at times. I think it's getting harder and harder for us to buy the type of players. I think we need to try and find more Carter Vickers, more Jotas, two guys that weren't with no Champions League experience. They had to spend a wee bit of cash for them, but it just turns out they were decent players. Like I think we just need to try and find some of the players, sprinkle some of your Scott Sinclair type of players that are 28, 29. Again, as I say, they'll probably not have the Champions League experience because, as I say, we're not getting that type of player in. But somebody with a wee bit more, some more players with a wee bit more experience. And I think you just like we're never got to make great strides in the Champions League because we're not got to be able to spend the money that's there to do that. But in the Europa League, if you drop down to it, obviously you would need to go straight in it. That's the conundrum we're in now. I think we're just going to accept that you're never going to sacrifice the league to try and get a decent run in the Europa League. So we're just going to have to accept Champions League football and what that provides for us now. You might find if we're qualifying for it year on year, you might be able to speculate a wee bit and spend a wee bit more cash year on year to try and do it. But I honestly don't know. Like I don't know where we sit in the European landscape now, Stephen. Because if you look back at our history as well, it's nothing's there. Well, nothing's really there to say that we're absolutely a European powerhouse. I mean, in recent years, we've actually probably qualified for the last 16 or played European football after Christmas more in the last 10 years than we have in previous years. But folk choose to ignore that. Folks say we've not won a game. Folks say we've not won a game at home, a game in the Champions League since 2017. But choose to ignore the fact that this is only our second campaign in the Champions League since then. So stats can be construed to look a certain way. But you can't win in a competition if you're not in it, Stephen.
And look, back to the recruitment side of things, you mentioned a great point there, experience. I think Rodgers has said that he wants experience now. He can only work with so many project players. That's words that's come out of his mouth. So he wants experience coming into January.
I want some experience coming in.
Yeah, but you mentioned, you brought on the comment there about United and Newcastle. And this is what kind of annoys me because you bring up clubs here spending mega money, £600 million, whatever it is, £1.5 billion in United's case in the last whatever, right? That's fair. Copenhagen done a job and United. They beat them 4-3, which was a fantastic result, no matter what turmoil Manchester United in. We used to be able to do that and give these teams a game. We can't. Copenhagen, I would say, are probably less off than us, but they're making a better fist of it in the Champions League than Celtic are at the minute. The teams in our campaign are probably comparable to what they have in theirs. I mean, United, as I said, are woeful this season. You mentioned that. We're never going to do that, and I hope we don't, and I hope we never, ever lose the league. But if we continue with the recruitment stuff for a second, no, Pam, I'm not annoyed. I'm actually in a quite zen mood. But you look at it from my point of view, you're mentioning these clubs like United, like Newcastle. Like Copenhagen, as I said, done a fantastic thing. We can't even do that no more. And it's like these clubs over a period of time will be successful because, yeah, they're spending copious amounts of money. But I don't think it's too much to ask to make a decent fist of it, to win a game. Do you know what I mean? The drawing the game against Atletico Parkhead was a fantastic result. I was on speaking about it in the podcast after that match. Brilliant. And then you said about the Europa League, when we've won games against Lazio home and away, I take all that on board. But we cannot sit still until the red card. Atletico would have taken 6 off them as well. But we cannot sit still year on year and come up with the same drivel year on year that we can't afford a player, we can't afford a transfer fee, we can't compete because of too much money, we can't do this because they've got world-class players. if you go back to Gordon Strachan's here, I mean, he had a team
Football
full
was
of
different then,
workhorses.
Stephen. Come on.
No, but
I
are
know,
you
but
trying to say? Are you trying to say Kaká, Seedorf, Gattuso
true.
couldn't morph it? Are you joking me right now, Franny? Are you joking me?
I
Like,
know.
come on here. I let you have your
I
thing. You
think
can
I
come
think
back to me.
it's I
You can go
think
back to me in a wee
I
second.
agree. Gordon Strachan
But
worked wonders.
yeah, but this is what I'm saying. So like, your football was different. I 100% agree. But the caliber of player is still the same caliber of player we're going to face in every Champions League campaign. We were beating United. We were beating Barcelona in 2012. We were beating AC Milan, Shakhtar Donetsk, Benfica. Even though they beat us away, we were still comfortably beating these teams at home. We fell off the face of a cliff. We failed to take advantage of the finance that we have in Scottish football. We've let that club come up from the third division and challenge us again, which I think is totally and wholly unacceptable from the board's point of view. We have 70 million in the bank, surplus cash. Fantastic. It's in the bank. But what good's it doing the playing staff in the bank when we need to improve? Do you know what I mean? Yes, Stephen Murdoch, I'm tired of it as well. And I get the points of view where we can't spend this amount of money. But, Franny, you made the point there. You said Sinclair, you said a Carter Vickers, a Jota. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about going and spending 25 million quid on one individual. We're never going to be in a position to do that. But the board are happy asking the supporters for money for 4 kits a season, for the Champions League packages which go up year in, year out in price, for a stupid hydro event to celebrate the players of the year. They're putting that out there after we get smashed up against Atletico. I spent another couple £100 to come and see your heroes and legends, which I'm sure will be a fantastic event. But read the room. Fans are pumping money into this club year in, year out, and seeing no reward. We're seeing it at domestic level, but I think, yeah, that's great. But Rodgers talked about making inroads. The board even spoke about making inroads. We've got targets in Europe this season. What's the targets? What's the targets? Because so far, apart from one game, we fell short of every target. Monday was funny. San Fran. And look, I know people like to have a joke and laugh at me and stuff, which is fair enough. Everyone does. It's grand. But I just think it comes to a point where we as a support have to say enough's enough and demand more. And demand more as a club. Because I'm fed up of being a whipping tool in the Champions League. I'm fed up of looking forward to every campaign and ultimately finish last or third in the group, which third in the group when that's 2017, maybe when we won that game. It's not good enough. And Franny, I do agree with you on one point. We are not the club that we all think we are. We are not a powerhouse. Totally, we couldn't be further away from that at the minute, if we're honest. Rodgers spoke about adding physicality to the team. We didn't get it. He's making noise that he wanted more targets at the end of the transfer window. He didn't get them, but he was happy enough to accept what he had. He's talking about now wanting more experience instead of project players. So what the support have been saying, what the support have been laughed at by certain people, saying we want more quality players. Rodgers is now saying that himself. So we're not blind. We're not stupid. We can see it. And no matter if there's tens of thousands of happy clappers willing to sit, take their soup and their warm bacon bops and whatever they get in the stadium, then it's never going to change. It's never going to change because I feel like it's a road, whatever. I feel like I'm talking Irish here, right? I feel like in terms of people who want more, it's a minority now. People are too willing to accept what they're given, too willing to accept the excuse that we can't compete, too willing to accept the excuse we can't afford a transfer fee when we've got 70 plus million sitting in the bank. And next year, we'll be having the same conversation. Why isn't that working out? Because it's going to turn into a league campaign. And as you said, Franny, we're going to have to turn up and accept it now. We're going to accept 8 beatings, 8 hammerings in a row for us not having a teeny weeny bit of ambition to be like, we can improve left back, we can improve the goalkeeping situation. The goalkeeper, Livakovic, we all thought was €10 million plus. He went for €6 million, so he was affordable. He was in our price range at that time. So I'm going to come to you. Jonathan, we haven't got a like for like. Palmer's, I can see the potential there 100%, but Jonathan was exceptional in Champions League and European football. The stuff he could do. A one-off player, probably we'll see in our lifetimes by the way this sport gets on. But there's so many areas of that team that has deficiencies. It's incredible. Alzer Johnson's form has dropped. Don't know why, but there's no one to come in and do a job like he does. Like, could you imagine if Ralston played against Atletico Madrid? It would have been an even worse game than we would have seen. And there's too many drops off the cliffs when we bring in a substitute or we bring in a replacement player. The level drops considerably, and that's not good enough. We were crying out for first team ready players. We didn't get it. And we're sitting here, as I said in the summer, we would be sitting here discussing where are we in European football. We're nowhere. We are a basket case of a club in European football, and sometimes we get a draw against Atletico, which is fantastic. As I said, and I'll always say it was a great result, but one result out of 20, one result out of 10 isn't good enough for a club like us. And I'm fed up of listening to people say, but we don't know if the board done this, but we don't know if the board tried to sign this player. We do know, because Rodgers has said it himself. They missed out on targets. He wants experience. He doesn't want any more project players. But we're still sitting here going, will Yang be a brilliant Champions League player? Will Palma do it? We just don't know, because we have to give them 2 or 3 years because they're learning. Shouldn't be the case, and is totally unacceptable. We've stood still as a club. We've got the most amount of turnover, more than Feyenoord, by the way, who you said Dutch clubs. We're cash rich. We're richer than them, and still we're accepting rice pudding and a rice cake. It's a shambles. Shambles in Europe. Brilliant domestically, but a shambles in Europe.
It's hard to argue, but then go and tell me the last time we were brilliant in Europe then.
Brian, it's not about being brilliant, but being competitive and winning games. You have to win games. You cannot go to the...
They're not trying to win games. And I think
of course they're trying, man, but we're coming up short. We're coming up short. Yeah, I agree.
But that's what I mean, is they're being competitive in games, and it's fine margins at that level. Fine margins at that level can punish you. So, and I'm not sitting here and saying we can't improve, we can't do better. Of course we can get a better left back. Of course we can get a better goalkeeper. Of course we can get a better wherever. But sometimes, like, you look at Maeda, who's a player that will kind of rate. Postecoglou said that was one of his first signings. Taking him, 6 months to get him? A year? So sometimes you just kind of get that signing. Now, I agree, Rodgers has I think he's said some maybe smart things and saying, well, I'm happy with what I've got, because he's got to try and keep the peace, but he's also kind of dropping wee subtle hints, maybe saying, well, I want a wee bit more experience. Will we get that in January? I don't know, because I think it's a hard window to deal with. I think your better business generally is always done in the summer. So I agree. I want more experience. I want what we would argue are first team ready players. I don't think he signed the majority of players thinking they're not going to be first team ready players. I think you bring them in thinking these have got to impact the first team. You can't help the injuries that's kind of happened. Like, you spend $3.5 million on Lagerbielke. I think he might be an all bad player, but he needs to
doesn't fancy him. Doesn't seem like he fancies him.
Well, I don't think it's that. It's Carter Vickers is obviously number one. Yes, he's been injured.
Yeah.
But you're dropping Liam Scales for anybody right now? To be honest, probably no.
No, I agree with that sentiment. So, I do agree with that.
I don't think he doesn't rate Lagerbielke. I just think it's, well, why can you realistically drop Liam Scales right now? But on the flip it, what I will say is, if you look at your starting 11, name their strongest starting 11 now, what would you have? You'd probably have one summer signing, and that's Palma in it.
And that's not good enough.
You could argue that the recruitment hasn't been good enough. I do agree with that, but I think Narovki can feel hard done by because he's been out injured. We can't account for Liam Scales' rise to form and things like that. Tilio has been injured, and things. So there has been mitigating factors. I just think I wouldn't call myself a happy clapper. I just try and look.
I wasn't calling you that, by the way. I was not calling you that.
I'm just meaning I just try and look at it, try and be a wee bit more balanced. I want us to push the ball out, Stephen. Of course I do. I think every fan wants us to push the board out, push the boat out more. We always want to succeed. We are in a great position to do it. From a financial point of view, I agree. manager's point of view, we've got a great manager. Foundations are all there. We're in a great position. I just think geographically we're in a horrendous position, and we can't ignore that. I don't think we have the power we had even 4 or 5 years ago to try and bring some players to Scotland. It is getting hard. I do think we maybe should try and pay more wages, but it's not that we can't afford it, but people maybe will hark back to, well, Larson and Sutton were on big money, but you were getting a lot more money for. I think back when Hart and Larson were coming in, we were probably getting about £50 million the Scottish League off Sky. The English Premier League was getting about 75. We were competing with England then. Well, we're not competing with your Man United, your Arsenals, and Liverpool.
Money-wise, you mean?
But money-wise, we were getting decent money back then for Sky. And the Satanta deal ruined that. Now, you look at it now, what did we get, 3 million or something? About 25 million over 5 years or something.
Do you want to know something funny? And look, I'm not bringing any other game. This is not a dig, so please, anyone watching, do not take this as a dig. But the Women's FA Cup is more prize money than I think the Scottish Cup and the Scottish League Cup.
I think so.
And
I mean, that's fair play to them. Fair play to them. They can afford to do it, but I think we don't advertise our game well. I don't think we help it by, not saying us anyway, I think we are very supportive of the Scottish League in a sense that we do big it up. I'm not going to sit and say the quality is the best, but I think as a entertainment.
Oh, us as a podcast?
I think I think as entertainment, as a product, I like the Scottish game. But I don't think the powers that be advertise it properly. And I'm not saying we've got to get the billions that the EPL get, but I think we could get more money if the powers that be sort of advertised their game a bit better and things like that. So there's a lot of reasons, I think, why we're maybe struggling to get the guys in that a lot of us want. I don't think it's for the want of trying. I just think it's getting harder and harder. Just the money that guy like Ben Doak was reportedly offered 12 grand a week to go to Liverpool at 16-year-old. It's hard to compete with that at the end of the day. Celtic, we just can't. I just didn't see how we do it. I would love us to spend silly money, spend that 72 million which is in the bank, but it's just not going to happen. I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility. Maybe going by 4 or 5 players at 6, 7, 8 million. Not need and.
Many did you say 5 players at what? Sorry,
6 million. What's that's 35. It's 35, Stephen. It's fucking easy money.
30 million. Sorry.
Well,
excuse the calculator, but
wages. So I think you could do that, and as I said earlier, it would suggest spending that level of money on a player would suggest that you're buying a better caliber of player. But just spending money is not necessarily always the answer. You need to buy the right player. You need to buy quality. You need to buy quality. But I think if you did buy that level of players year on year, doesn't need to be at that level buying 5 or 6 of them year on year. But if you can do that and consistently do that, I think you can improve. But as I say, it's for me, I think it's the thing I keep harping back. I think it's getting harder to attract these players to Scotland.
Look, I get that, right? And I know we've spent a lot here talking about recruitment and things, and that's okay. I know the comments, like I see there's over 284 comments. I appreciate everyone getting on there. Joseph Agnew, Franny, big money, not the answer. There's only 2 teams to get in the final, so a lot of teams spend the big money or not in the final. Not all problems. Doak, just play him. Well, but don't know about Doak if it could have worked out at Celtic. He's away now. But I mean, you say it's harder to attract. I totally agree with you in that instance, but we have to try, man. We have to take these risks. Otherwise, we're going to begin into every campaign as the people, as the team that everyone wants to play. No, actually, it's my child's calculator, but it was the closest thing to me. But it's just one of them things. Like it annoys me greatly that we don't push the boat out a wee bit. No one's saying spend the £72 million. Yeah, no one's spending that at all. No one's saying spend all that at all. And I think people get the wrong kind of conception when people are saying, why can we not spend more? What I'm saying is, look, if you looked at the left back position, chuck £8 million at it, take the risk and see what happens. If you're looking at the goalkeeper position, just pay the money for Livakovic, bring him into the club. Could have been 2 deals done. You know what I mean?
There's not. Maybe we did, Stephen, but it's Galatasaray went to win it, and I think they can offer silly money when it comes to wages.
Of course they can.
Let's be honest.
But then, is there not a list of goalkeepers though?
There maybe is, but folk would then. So that's one thing I have got an issue with, because then you would go, right, we didn't get Livakovic, we got this guy. So you couldn't get your first guy, you couldn't get the first option. Couldn't get Rodgers his first option. So for some folk, you can't win regardless of what you do.
No, I get that. And look, we're going to have to stay on the board just for a wee while longer. Like, we all know the Champions League and Celtic get people riled up, and it's great to see the passion is still there among the supporters. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about, debate and all that at the end of the day. But the other thing that's raging on at the minute is the to and fro, the battle between the Green Brigade and the Celtic PLC, or the board, as people are calling them at the minute. Obviously, there's a divide among the support in terms of where their allegiance lie. There's been a statement released, Franny, by Celtic yesterday, I think it was, via email, and then on the website, basically debunking most of the things that the Green Brigade were saying in their first statement about the trying to initiate communication, all this type of stuff, pyrotechnics, fireworks, breaking in, allegations and stuff. And then the Green Brigade get back today. Now, if I can find it, I'm not going to read all of it, but Ross sent it in here. So one of the first bullet points of the Green Brigade statement today was, we see very little in the continuing this online game of statement tennis, which was initiated by the PLC board and which it continues to draw out by repeating the same disingenuous claims that we've already addressed. We note that the PLC board claims to be open to dialogue and engagement. We remind them that we've been waiting for a meeting with Chief Executive Michael Nicholson since the summer. The planned meeting, so on and so on, didn't happen, and they're still waiting on that going on. Should our situation not be satisfactorily resolved by Celtic v Motherwell on the 25th, we'll organise a day of action at this match. So basically, there's a bit of threatening in there as well. But where do you stand in this situation? I mean, for me personally, I think the Palestinian flags, the Palestine conflict that's going on at the moment, that was the straw that broke the camel's back to the Celtic board, and they used every other excuse as a smokescreen to get them out of the club and to stop that political aspect being took among the support, and especially in that section. Albeit other supporters have took it all on their own will to bring in Palestine flags, and wave them at games, and they can't ban them all, I suppose. So crowd wins in that one. But where do you stand, Franny, in this situation? It seems to be ongoing and deflecting away from issues that we're facing on the pitch at the minute, which isn't great, to be honest.
Well, what I would say, Stephen, if anybody that are maybe sitting on the fence or are getting a wee bit pissed off with the Green Brigade and can't be arsed with them anymore, go and listen to the first 10 minutes of Bhoys' Thursday night forum. Mark Kearney makes an absolute great point regarding them. And to use the Palestinian flag and what's happening over there to try and say this is why we're bantered, and fans even saying that's why they're bantered. I think it's especially the Green Brigade. I think that just shows the level of them. If they're using a war, what is happening over there to try and somehow use this for their cause, for me, that's just tells me everything you need to know about the folk. I'm not saying that I was maybe willing to cut them a wee bit of slack at it, but then they just keep pushing everything and using what's happening over there to try and suggest that's why it's got to this stage. And for me, I can't be arsed with it anymore if that's what they're saying. If that's what they're saying. I've read their statement. I think it's very, very self-entitled. It's very all about us, which I think they are. Like they even saying that they were, but well, first of all, I'll go back, and what I'll do is I'll give them a lot of credit. They do a lot of good charitable work. I'm not going to take that away from them. And I know the Palestinian flag, the recent flying of the Palestinian flag it's a thing they do yearly. I don't think it's at that time. That I know that they've supported it year on year for many years. Even when I was a season ticket, I can recall Palestinian flags being there. So I know this is not a jumping on the bandwagon for them. I think maybe the timing of it and the wording in that message was ill thought. But again, I was willing to cut them slack at the time because we're a club open to all. So you've got to kind of try and live by that, I suppose, if you want. I have said that I think politics and football, or politics and sport, don't mix. I don't think it should be there. Celtic, I will admit, the board made a rod for them back when they obviously invited Ukrainians in for the Shakhtar game, and that for me that was just a PR stunt for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they essentially shot themselves in the foot with the Palestinian thing, saying that they don't. It's not. My understanding is not that they didn't want it. It's UEFA have said nobody's to do it. So to an extent, Celtic's hands are tied in when it comes to in Europe. That it's not that they can't have flags. It's Celtic have Europe or UEFA saying you have not to do it, fly it in their competition. Rightly or wrongly, you're not to do it. So it's, for me, that's where Celtic have maybe could have maybe fought a wee bit better and just as like, well, you were all right with the Ukrainian flag flying. Why should a different flag matter? Because for me, when it comes to politics and sport, somebody's cause is always more important than the next person's. Hence why I don't think it should be involved in sport. But Celtic have obviously relayed out issues that they've had with the Green Brigade. The Green Brigade have came back and said that they were promised meetings that didn't happen. Now, how many other fans get promised meetings with the CEO? Well, with Michael Nicholson. No fans getting that. Me or you's not getting that kind of meeting. But they've got an issue because it's been delayed and no meeting.
It's on my board. My time's on my board.
So for me, I know a lot of fans will be on the Green Brigade side, and that's fair enough. It would be interesting what a lot of fans would say if an Israeli man was rocked up with an Israeli flag at the park.
No. Right. I don't think that would be an issue.
A club open to all, but it'd be interesting. And a wee bit of me, Celtic's hands were tied a bit with it. They've got an Israeli internationalist as well, so they've got to kind of, there's certain things they would have to do. In that
if I remember right,
for me.
If I remember right, Franny, I think one of the league celebrations, the Bada had an Israeli flag wrapped around them, so I don't think there's any issue with that. Like,
but
if I remember correctly,
well, he obviously made a statement. Beaton made a statement after what happened October 7th, and that's not me saying that it all started then. I know it didn't. If it getting all into it. But then he's seen the sort of backlash for Celtic fans off the back of that. So I think there might be wee tensions if you've done that. But for me, I think I've washed my hands with the Green Brigade, Stephen. As I say, I will commend them. I'll support them with any charitable work they do. Any charity, because anybody that's willing to give up their free time for charity should be commended. Yep. You should not slate anybody that does that, whether you're doing it for 5 minutes or 5 weeks, whatever. You should be commended for any charitable work that you do, because as I say, you're giving up your free time. Majority of folk that do it, and they say they do great things for food banks. Have done plenty of things for Palestinians, and I think, to my understanding, they went a wee bit extra mile with that stuff, in the sense that they make sure any charitable work they do is reaching the right people. Yep. So, I mean, fair play to them for that. Totally, we'll support them all the way for that. But they have had issues. They have had caused Celtic bother throughout the years recently. So it's one of them. Does there need to be common ground? I don't know. At the end of the day, it's Celtic. They fans, whether we like to admit it or not, we didn't own the stadium. So I didn't go into my work and expect to do what I want, because I didn't own that building. So a fan shouldn't have gone to a stadium and expect to be able to do what he wants, be able to do what they want. So there has to be rules within a stadium. There has to be rules within it. So for me, I've washed my hands with them. A lot it's based on the fact that they keep pushing their cause and using what's happening over in Palestine as a reason why Celtic are banning them, and I think that just shows you the level of them.
I'd be interested to see what the comments say, but I think there's probably a few 50-50 ones in there. Yeah, I can imagine. Mixed. But I mean, I do. For me, you mentioned common ground. I hope there is common ground.
I think folk are too.
If Celtic Park is a library without the others, then what does it say about the other 56,000 in the ground? Like, again, I know there was the atmosphere and all before.
There was atmosphere for it.
100%. But without getting drawn into that aspect of things, I think we covered that kind of atmosphere.
It's our club.
Yeah, it's San Fran. But look, I hope there's open dialogue between the club and them. I hope it gets resolved. It seems to me it's went past tit for tat now. This is going to be resolved by good conflict resolution in terms of people represented this meeting.
Mate, they're the luckiest fans in the world. Luckiest fans.
Of course they are. But we know they've got special privileges. They're away grounds, their home grounds. They have the tickets, and they've been treated well to an extent. And look,
and it's well known that going to away games in Europe and domestically, you're told to sit where you sit because the Green Brigade will sit together.
Yeah. But look,
that's not right.
Of course not. People have different opinions of things like that. I want them back in the ground. I think they add something to the ground, and I hope this isn't the end of the Green Brigade. And like you said, Franny, the charitable work to do is fantastic. And the people fight, and not fight. People like to express different causes, different, I don't know what you could say, flags, cultures, and emblems and things like that. Look, and I agree. I agree with the aspect of what you said. They shouldn't be using a conflict to push their agenda. That shouldn't be happening. 100%. I agree with that. But at the end of the day, I still am of the firm belief that this was the smokescreen the board acted on to bring up a whole list. To bring up a whole list of incidents. Because for me, Franny, why did they not, after 2 or 3 of the long page that they sent out of the incidents, why did they not ban them then? Why did they not put them in the suspension then? They waited till now because they know, as you said, UEFA's put the foot down. UEFA's put pressure on the board. They're thinking to themselves, fuck, we're in trouble here. We know what the Green Brigade are going to do. Let's take a bit of action now. Wait until the heat calms down. Obviously, since then, there's been back and forth. It's escalated the situation between the board and the Green Brigade. And it looks like for now, their season books have been suspended. And what was that on the statement? They're going to be giving away the seats for free or something? I don't know. There was a big kick-up about this, that they're going to be putting people in the real seat.
Well, they can't resell a ticket at the end of the day. So if they're wanting the stadium full, they would need to obviously give them away for free. So
yeah,
I can understand I can kind of understand that from a business point of view, because you'll give away free seats, which are maybe I think it's on record as 261 Green Brigade members. So
yeah,
if you give away the 261 seats for free, if every person spends a £5 in the concourses and food and things like that, so I can understand from a business point of view.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Michael Nicholson and Peter Lawwell to the podcast. No, I get it. Look, different views, obviously, the Green Brigade and that, but I do hope it gets resolved soon. And obviously, we're back in domestic action. Franny against Aberdeen. They came off a good result last night against PAOK, 2 each, away from home. And that's a good shout. Aberdeen Moore Keno Foundation is a fantastic organisation, helping underprivileged kids and things like that. It's fantastic. But
I agree with that, but I think that's a bit harsh.
What does the scab mean? What does that mean over in Scotland?
Just an arsehole, mate. Just
right, fair enough. But we're playing Aberdeen at home. It's on TV. Sunday kickoff. I think it's like 2:30 or something like that on Sky. Aberdeen are off, as I said, a good result away from home. 2 each. I watched the majority of the game. They played some decent football. That team, PAOK, have good players like Tyson and players of that calibre, and they pulled off. They should have actually won the game at Pittodrie as well, but got done over in the end by, again, penalty kicks and VAR getting involved. But at the end of the game, Franny, home crowd, as you said, packed stadium with the new Green Brigade coming in and the real seating. Hail, feed the bear. But what are you expecting? I think for me, Aberdeen are a bit hot and cold. I know Barry Robson had a bit of a rough time there, but European football, he seems to be doing quite well in terms of competing there and getting results. I'm expecting a tough game. They always line up with the usual kind of 3-5-2 formation. Duke and Miovski, Rubicic's the centre half. He's a big animal, by the way. He gets stuck into everything. He tackled the player by sliding his head in. He did a sliding tackle and did a header. He looks a good player. Leighton Clarkson, Johnny Hayes, Graham Shinney could round them all off, but they're a decent outfit. It'll be a tough game, and one, hopefully, we get a comfy result in.
I'm not looking forward to it, Stephen. Like you say, Aberdeen are fairly hot and cold in the league, but I mean, not that they've been pulling up season in Europe, but they seem to be doing okay in Europe and things. But the fact, like, I think if we were going up to Pataudry, especially off the back of Tuesday night,
that's a good shout. Yeah.
I would have been going, could we still have a wee bit of European hangover, feeling sorry for ourselves after getting absolutely gubbed. Again, you could flip that and say, well, maybe back to a point to prove, and that's the way I'm hoping they'll look at it. I think Rodgers will maybe be drilling that. The players, they'll probably claim they don't read the papers and social media, but I think they do. I think they do in this day and age.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
We all know that they use social media and things like that for their own gain, to make a wee bit extra money. So they'll have read the room and stuff. They'll have seen the criticisms and a lot of justified and things. So I'm hoping Sunday they'll be out to prove a point. I mean, it's not to say that look, this is a team that was a one-off, because obviously it's Atletico Madrid, but just to show that, by the way, we're hurting as well. That type of attitude, just go out, a really dominant performance. We might be helped by the fact that obviously we've had a day or two more to recover than Aberdeen played. But obviously Aberdeen might have a bit of adrenaline off the back of a decent enough away result where we got hammered. So I think due to Aberdeen's domestic form being a wee bit hot and cold, and maybe that's a lot to do with them struggling to cope with European football and domestic football, combining the two together. So I think, with being at Parkhead, Rangers likely will have reduced the gap to 5 points, because I don't see wee Martindale, wee Hasbill again as a favour at the bloody spaghetti had. So I think we'll go out just to say, look, let's go. We'll show you that we're hurting today, and I think we'll put Aberdeen to the sword, and I think it could be a sore one for Aberdeen.
What's your lineup score prediction then?
Lineup, Joe Hart picks his cell. Simply, I think he's in on merit, but even then, you wouldn't go anywhere else. I think Alistair Johnson will keep his place. I think there's a fair argument to maybe play Tony Ralston. I think Alistair Johnson has been he's been good enough, but at the same time, I think he's not been at the standards that we know we can hit. So I maybe a Ralston coming in just to give him a wee kick up the arse to say, look, well, your position's no so sure as young. But again, I'm a strong believer in trying to keep your back five as consistent as you can. So for me, I think I go with Johnson. Carter Vickers, say the Ella Scales, he just can't. I know Nawrocki's back, but you just can't drop him now. And Taylor, Taylor has been coming onto form domestically, but you're just never making a case for Bernabei being in that team right now. I don't care what. It just doesn't say. I don't care what Taylor does right now. The fact that, speaking of social media, you look at Bernabei's at Senate and Buckbean at Celtic, it's barbecues at the back, he's on beaches and that, so that guy knows he's done it.
Him and Segrist both.
So the back five for me picks itself. Midfield's where it's O'Reilly and McGregor that's in. Does Tumble come back in because it's at home and domestic? Does Awata maybe get a run? I think Tumble will come back in, mate. I think Bernabei was in just because his legs. I think Tumble will be in because he's had a good run of the game. He had two games, 2 goals, so he's in decent form. I think he'll come in. And midfield, well, the front three, I think. Now, when Maeda been injured, does he play Kyogo? No. I'm going to stick my neck on the line, mate. I think brains tells you Forrest comes in for Maeda.
Oh,
I think
God,
brains tells you that.
Jesus,
But
no.
I'm going a front three. I'm not thinking I'm changing shape, so I'm thinking a front three: Louis Palmer, Kyogo, and
I like that. What's the score?
I'm going 4-0, mate.
4-0. I'll go Joe Hart, Johnson, Vickers, Scales, Taylor. McGregor won't start, in my opinion. I'll go Iwata, O'Reilly, Bernardo as a midfield three. Up top, I'll go. Look, I know you're being bold, but I don't think you'll go like that. I'll go Yang, Kyogo, and Palma, and I'll stick with you. I'll stick with a 4-0 result as well. But Franny, that brings us to the end of an eventful podcast. I think we got a lot off our chest, and everyone got involved in the comments. And also, again, everybody get involved on our TikTok page. Just search up Endless Celts, and you'll find us there. We've got a good wee community building like we do here on YouTube. We want that to keep growing. There's some cracking videos that Willie has done a cracking jobs with. Some are laugh, some are really in depth as well and good. But yeah, Franny, get involved with TikTok. And have you enjoyed this podcast?
It was good, Steve. It was good. Nice wee debates on Europe and the fans of the moment, the Green Brigade.
Oh, 100%, mate. But thank you, Corvo. Until Monday, hopefully after a great result against Aberdeen, maybe the 4-0 win that we're both speaking about. Put that in the Super 6, although you can't do it for Scottish football. You know what I mean? But get your Super 6 scores in by tomorrow, isn't it? Get them in for the weekend games
tomorrow, mate.
And close that gap at the top. But until Monday, stay well, keep safe. Hail, hail.